to a very, very, very busy day here in New York sports. It is Evan and Tiki. We're here for the next 4.5 hours, and you're going to want to keep it right here because NFL free agency has begun. And before this show is over tonight at 6:30, I think we're going to know who the Jets quarterback will be in 25, who the Giants veteran bridge quarterback will be in 2025. We're going to get a lot of answers over the next 4.5 hours. And with social media down, we're here for you. Because as soon as there's a big NFL signing, whether it involves our teams or not, you will hear the glass break and we'll be all over it. So we got a lot of football throughout this show. Paul Goldschmidt of the New York Yankees will join us later. But the other piece of information that we are waiting on is basically like we're woozy, all right? We're about to collapse, but we need to kind of be punched in the face. And the punch in the face would be the official news that Gerrit Cole is going to need Tommy John surgery. And Tiki, I know you're going to think I'm nuts, but sometimes I need to be not just the voice of wisdom or the voice of sanity, but I got to calm people down. The Yankees season is not over because Gerrit Cole may miss the entire year.
It is not. I thought you were going to use this moment to gloat a little bit.
About what?
To pat yourself on the back. Because when we first started this Evan and Tiki journey that we've been on for almost 2 years now, one of the first things you kept spouting was trade Gerrit Cole. Trade Gerrit Cole. You only have so many more years before, or outings before the inevitable happens.
Yeah.
He gets hurt as an older pitcher, and he's devastated because Tommy John at 32, whatever it is, you're going to miss a year. He'll be back at 33, maybe 34. You've missed the prime of his career, and you turned out to be right. Now, it wasn't the right time to trade Gerrit Cole because obviously the run to the World Series a year ago probably doesn't happen without him.
Right.
But in some regards, you were kind of right.
Well, I don't want to be right about things like this because I love pitching as a baseball fan. I don't want to see guys break down. But the reality is Gerrit Cole is 34 years old. He's thrown a ton of innings.
Yep.
This is not surprising to anybody.
No.
It's just not. And honestly, I know the Yankees made that decision to not trade Gerrit Cole, not that they ever considered it just because a dope on the radio was suggesting it. They had a chance to win the World Series last year.
Right.
And when Gerrit Cole was on the mound in Game 5 in full control, potentially sending the series back to Los Angeles, I said to myself, okay, well, this is why you never trade a guy like this. But the reality is these guys break down. And I start to think that Brian Cashman during the offseason went out and signed Max Fried knowing this possibility could occur. And so while the Yankees aren't Aaron Judge proof because Juan Soto is gone, to me their rotation was Gerrit Cole proofed. Like their rotation is still solid. It may not be the best rotation in baseball anymore. I'm not suggesting that.
No.
But they still have a legitimate ace-like pitcher in Max Fried. They have another pitcher who at times in his career has pitched like an ace in Carlos Rodon. They have a young emerging ace in Clark Schmidt. And so, yeah, there are now questions about the back of the rotation with Marcus Stroman and potentially Will Warren and Cookie Carrasco. But this idea, and this sucks, man. Like, two things can be true. This sucks. This damages the Yankees. But this doesn't finish the Yankees off because I think they're equipped, Tiki, to survive without him.
Well, they are. And if Clark Schmidt gets healthy and he pitches like he was expected, you're not necessarily worried about it. If one of these other young arms, kind of like Luis Gil a year ago, comes up, you don't really know what to expect, but turns out to be one of the best young pitchers in baseball, then you're not worried about it, whether that's Will Warren or whoever else it may be. So, yes, you're right, and we're still not far enough into spring training or close enough to the season to like panic and say it's over, because some people are saying, oh, the season's over when you compound it with Giancarlo Stanton and Luis Gil. But this is the beauty of sport. You just don't know what you're going to get when somebody else is given the opportunity. And so if you're a Yankee fan, that's what you have to think about.
Well,
is somebody else is getting an opportunity. Sucks for Cole.
Yeah.
Sucks for us because we lose the ace. but somebody else is going to get the opportunity, and you hope they rise to the occasion.
The other thing that sucks is when guys get hurt, and there have been plenty of injuries here in spring training, Yankee-related, Met-related, Luis Seal, Giancarlo Stanton, Francisco Alvarez, Sean Manaea. It's a long list. With most of the guys, you could put it in the back of your head of, well, they could come back, and they could be like a trade acquisition. The problem with Tommy John is a death sentence for this season. Like, he's done. We're not seeing him in 2025. So unlike Stanton, even though I don't think anyone has optimism right now, there is a possibility he can help this team down the road. There is a possibility Luis Seal can help this team down the road.
Yes, possibly.
Possibly. Francisco Alvarez, we as Met fans are hoping he can help the team down the road. Once it's announced that it's Tommy John, that's it. He ain't helping them down the road. But here's the way I look at this, Yankee fans. And hopefully you're not mad at me, because I'm being honest. I've said all offseason, you're the best team in the American League. Despite what's happened this offseason, despite losing Juan Soto, despite Plan B not being as good as Plan A, you are still the best team in the American League. Well, you're not anymore. Okay, great. You're not the best team in the American League anymore. You have a lot of questions, but you're not the worst. The Orioles aren't significantly better. The Red Sox aren't significantly better. The Blue Jays aren't significantly better. So to me, what's happened with an injury like this is, the Yankees don't go. They go from the team to beat to someone who's just there. Yeah. And when you're just there, if things go right, you can still win.
But I think that the Yankee mentality right now, or before this injury, was we were just in the World Series. Yes, we lost Juan Soto, but we've shored up our pitching staff. We've deepened our bullpen. We are going to be better than ever in spite of losing Juan Soto. And then this happens before the regular season even starts. Yeah. And so it's hard not to feel depressed and despondent and like, oh, my Lord, what in the heck is going on type of mentality. But again, I always point to this as opportunities for other guys, and I don't know what Will Warren's going to look like. I don't know what Winans is going to look like. I don't know what Carlos Carrasco, who they signed on a whim just to give them some insurance down the line. What's he going to look like if he happens to get into this rotation? But the good thing is that there are other options. Well, just not as good as Gerrit Cole.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. I'm going to bring something up to you. It was a long time ago. Actually, not that long ago. Do you think 14 years ago was a long time?
Yeah, that's pretty long.
Okay, dude. Crap. All right. Long time ago. In late February of 2011, the St. Louis Cardinals announced that their ace, Adam Wainwright, was going to need Tommy John surgery. It sucked. About 7 months later, the St. Louis Cardinals had a parade, and they won the World Series. This happens. In the NBA, if you lose your star, Knicks fans know about this real well, you're done. It can kill you. It can be your death sentence. Well, this stinks, and it's a major blow, and you laid out the reasons why it stings as a Yankee fan, and you're depressed. I get all that. The idea it is a death sentence, the idea that they can't overcome it, is absolute BS. And let me give you some numbers to back that up. Last year, when Gerrit Cole missed the first few months of the season, he made his season debut on June 19th, right? So he didn't pitch in April. He didn't pitch in May. He missed the first half of June. When Gerrit Cole told the rubber on that evening, June 19th, the New York Yankees record was 51-24. 51-24. He then went out and made 17 starts. The team was 10-7 in those 17 starts, so not that good. And the entire Yankee team, from the moment Cole was activated to the end of the regular season, finished, you ready for this? 43-44. So, yes, he's great. Yes, he's brilliant. Yes, he takes pressure off the rest of his bullpen. Yes, he takes pressure off the rest of the rotation. That was last year. How can you deny it? 51-24 when he was out. When everyone was like, oh, my God, where's Gerrit Cole? He comes back. He wasn't bad. He wasn't the same. 43-44. So Yankee fans, starting with you, Sean, all I have to say is you're welcome. You must feel better now.
No, I don't feel better at all, Evan. In a vacuum, I think a lot of what you said about if it was solely Gerrit Cole makes a lot of sense. This is why you sign max free protection, all of that. But that's not the truth of what's going on with the Yankees right now. The truth is this is just the latest blow in a series of blows. And if you could put this thing in a vacuum, and this is the way I've tried to comprehend this over the last 24 hours. Yes, Aaron Judge is undoubtedly one of the best players in baseball and MVP. However, when the Yankees, we last saw them, when we last left them in October, their three best hitters in October were Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, and Giancarlo Stanton. They're going to embark on a season in a lineup without any of those three guys. And for the season last year, once he came back from injury, it was Gerrit Cole and Luis Gil who were their two aces. The Yankees are now going to embark on a season. We'll see how long it takes for Gil without either of those guys. Yes, they made some additions, but ultimately enough to outweigh when the Yankees were going good, those five and how important they were. Think about it. It's not just one. Now we're talking about five guys that are no longer here.
Right. They were big parts of the run last year.
Arguably the biggest outside of Aaron Judge.
Stanton was as huge as it could come last year in the postseason.
Now the next part of this is, what does that mean and how can I be positive? I think it's just a collective bar lowering. If this Yankee team's going to be the scrappy little engine that you pumped up and you lower your bar and you get to 89, 90 wins, get to a wild card, then that's what I would accept. But any dreams of building on last year's path to winning the ALCS died with the news of Gerrit Cole getting hurt.
But no, that part's too extreme.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
it's not telling you how I feel.
It's not over. You can't look at it that way.
Well, and also I think the way you have to look at it is there is a goal in about 2.5 weeks when this season starts, and that goal is to make the postseason. It's a very simple goal, and I know that's a kind of for Yankee fans really simple because more times than not, that goal is accomplished. Let's be honest. I know 2023 was one of those years where it didn't happen, but more times than not, whether you're 25 years old, 35 years old, 45 years old, or 55 years old, you've seen this team make the playoffs more times than not. Let's start right there. Make the freaking playoffs. And then when you get to the playoffs, I think this team is going to be very different. I think the way you view this team is going to be very different. And let me start with somebody who I am so honored that we're going to get to talk to in an hour because you're not respecting his name quite enough yet. And I know why, because he hasn't done anything for you. And that is future Hall of Famer, my guy Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt.
How is he your guy?
Well, I've known him for a very long time, even though we've never met or spoke. But I've always loved Goldie because Paul Goldschmidt is a model of consistency. If you look at this man's career, he plays 150 games every single year. Now, Goldie didn't have a good year last year. Okay, I think he'd be the first one to admit it.
When you say not good, it wasn't up to his standard, but he still hit 245.
Well, put it this way, and I'm glad you said that. His standards, if he played first base for the Yankees last year, you would have been in heaven because he's that much better than Anthony Rizzo last year, defensively and offensively.
Right.
So, but I also see a guy who had a big second half who really just had one bad half. That's all Paul Goldschmidt's done. So I think it's more likely than not you're going to get the 3,100 behemoth who won an MVP 2.5 years ago more than anything else. And so I think that you have upgraded first base in a way that I'm not sure Yankee fans can fully comprehend yet. Now, I'm not telling you this is the best case scenario. I get they lost Soto. Yeah, I get they even lost Gleyber Torres. And I get all the injuries they're dealing with. But what we need to realize in this modern day of baseball is just make the playoffs. And once you're there, get hot at the right time, and you cannot tell me on March 10th that this team isn't as good as every other team in the American League, and they can't beat the Guardians, or they can't beat the Astros, who, by the way, where's Christian Walker? He's got an oblique issue. Injuries happen. So I'm not trying to tell you that it's all rainbows and butterflies. I'm just trying to remind you of what this sport is and what the Yankees are still capable of doing despite the horrible news that spring training has been.
Yeah, I think that the Yankee mentality right now, or the Yankee thought process this was going to be easy. Right? Everybody was projecting that the Yankees were winning the AL East easily. They're going to be the number one seed easily in the American League. There's not enough good teams in the American League. And you get your mind ready for that, and then you say, all right, let's just think. Even though it's not even pitch one of the regular season hasn't happened yet, you're already thinking about the postseason. But what now you have to reconcile is that the postseason, getting there, is going to be more of this convoluted journey.
More of a fight.
It's more of a fight.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what you thought you were prepared for.
Well, I think that's fair. That's where the expectations have to change. They went, I said this about 5 minutes ago, from, in my opinion, being the best team in the American League to now being one of the teams in the American League.
Yes.
That doesn't mean the O's are better or the Astros are better or the Red Sox are better, but obviously they take a talent hit without Gerrit Cole and a talent hit without Giancarlo Stanton, and they're kind of in that middle. But let's not forget what the goal is. Make the playoffs. And trust me, your view on this team will be different. You will believe me that Paul Goldschmidt's an impact player when he is an impact player. I can say whatever I want to you today. He can come on the air today and tell you about how great his second half was. I understand he's got to do it for you. When he does it for you and he gets clutch hits and he earns his pinstripes with a walk-off home run in May, you'll say, oh, okay, I trust Goldie. When Will Warren breaks camp as a starter and gets Rookie of the Year votes like Luis Hill did last year, your opinion may change.
Oh, Dominguez better be getting those votes first.
Right.
That's another part of this.
Dominguez better step up. I mean, Cabrera better be he's not big enough to be Mark Vientos, but you know what I mean. Take advantage of your opportunity because it seems like it's his to lose at third base. That's what needs to happen. Again, these kids who have not to date been given the opportunity are going to get the opportunity.
Now, we do have a Gerrit Cole update. It is not that final nail we're all waiting for, which is he definitely needs Tommy John. But Sean Morash, who is sitting at a big table today with Tommy Lugauer, that table is called the NFL Free Agency Desk, and it's also called the Is Gerrit Cole Done Desk. So what is the latest on Gerrit Cole?
Okay, Gerrit Cole is in Los Angeles today for a meeting with Dr. Neil Elatrachi. He was the big Rogers doctor from the Achilles, so that doesn't sound great.
Well, it doesn't sound great. I think they're getting second and third opinions on this. Is it possible that he can pitch through a partially torn UCL if that's what it is? Yeah, guys have done it. Masahiro Tanaka did it.
Yeah.
Adam Wainwright did it.
For the rest of his career, right?
For the rest of his career.
He never got the surgery.
Correct. Waino eventually needed the surgery. Right. So, look, I think it is. I'm not going to try to paint this positive picture on that. I think it's 90% likely we'll get in the news he's out for the year. And it's going to suck. It's going to suck for him. It's going to suck for all of us. It's certainly going to suck for Yankee fans. I just want to remind the Yankee fan that all is not lost. Now, we'll get to your calls coming up, 888-808-1019. A lot of football as well. Today could be the day we find out what the Jets and Giants are doing at quarterback. What is the latest on Justin Fields? What is the latest on Aaron Rodgers?
I believe in the Giants.
We will hear all of it. Plus, we'll talk to Paul Goldschmidt. And I had a nice conversation with Pete Alonso yesterday, and he's made a very special request of me. We will air what that request is a little bit later on, all live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody for...